So that was the first ever macro photo that I've taken with my new Sony a7 IV. And in this video I want to talk a little bit about why I bought this camera and also why I prefer full frame cameras for macro photography, because a lot of people have been asking me about this. So I'm gonna take some macro photos while I talk about this topic. Bumblebees are tricky to photograph because they move so quickly, so very hard to set the focus before they have moved somewhere else. So a year ago I tried the Macro Four Thirds system a lot for macro photography. For example, I used the Panasonic G9, which is one of the top cameras for Macro Four Thirds. And while I really enjoyed using the camera and the shooting experience was nice, it has great ergonomics and just a very nice camera to use, I wasn't that happy with the photos. Even when I managed to get perfect exposures at ISO 200, you could still see a lot of noise in the photos at a perfect exposure, and that felt very off-putting for me, who is used with extremely good Sony full-frame sensors. Another thing I didn't like with the Micro Four Thirds system, it wasn't only the noise, also the colors aren't quite as vivid and as full, I would say, as on full frame. I definitely think that you can get more out of the colors if you shoot on full frame than you get in Micro Four Thirds. At least it feels like this for me. I mean, this is my subjective experience. I haven't done any lab tests or anything. It just feels like I'm getting nicer looking colors from the raw files when I'm shooting Sony full frame. We have a couple of hoverflies here. I've not seen too many hoverflies this summer for whatever reason, so I hope I can get a shot now. Okay, I didn't really get a shot of the hoverfly, but I got a few half decent shots of, I think it's called velvet bee. It's like a very small bee, and yeah, they are cute. So then I tried the Fujifilm system. I was using the Fujifilm XT3 for a while, and wasn't very happy with that either. Again, the dynamic range wasn't quite as good as I wanted to be. I wasn't able to lift the shadows as much as I want to get the look that I'm after in my photos. And also the whole Fujifilm system, I don't know, I didn't really like the buttons and the grip and the whole experience of using the menus and the viewfinder and stuff. Just didn't feel like home for me. There were a couple of other annoyances also with Fujifilm. For example, the RAW files, for whatever reason, they are slower to handle in Lightroom, and that was very annoying for me. I'm out here by a small lake up in the northern parts of Sweden, in Boden, visiting my wife's mother. It's really nice out here. I was using the Sony System for years before I tried the Micro Four Thirds and the APS-C systems, so I've really gotten used to every little detail in how the Sony system works. And I think that is probably a big deal and a big part of why I prefer it. So it's not like it is objectively better, perhaps. I mean, if I would have started with a Fujifilm camera and used that for my first 2-3 years of macro photography, I probably would have liked it more, because I've gotten used to all the little details in how it works, and it would feel more like home to me, as Sony feels like today. I'm rocking the Laowa 90mm today. I did not buy it, but I'm borrowing it from Laowa because I'm doing another video together with them. I love this lens, it's so great. But one thing it's kind of annoying is that I'm so used to shorter focal lengths in macro photography, so that I'm having a hard time focusing when the working distance is too long. Because I find it much easier to find the insect in the viewfinder when it is close to the lens. Then you just have to point the lens directly at the insect and it's very simple. But this could also be just old habit, because I've spent so many hours using the Laowa 60mm. So maybe I'm just used to that shorter working distance. I'm not sure. Also, something I just discovered about the Sony a7 IV is that the shutter sound is so very nice. It sounds a lot better than on my older Sony cameras. It feels more solid. It feels less like the camera is about to break every time I take a photo. So I'm very happy about that. It heightens the shooting experience a lot to have a nice shutter sound that you feel happy with. Very special looking ladybug, like black with yellow dots, it looks like. When I bought my first good camera, the Sony a7, it wasn't because I particularly liked Sony or anything. It was because it was the only full-frame mirrorless camera, and all the other ones were like twice the price and DSLRs. So it was a smaller camera, half the price, and I figured that is the one I want to buy. And then I upgraded to the a7 III a few years later, and I've been very happy with it. But a few things have always frustrated me with the a7 III, and I've really been wanting them to be fixed somehow. And in the a7 IV, all of these things are kind of fixed. The things I was frustrated with was the menu system. It has always been such a complete mess on the Sony cameras and extremely unintuitive, to the point where I've been using the camera for years and still I cannot find many of the most used options in the menu, because the menu is just so hard to remember where things are. I don't know how they did it, but they really designed a really bad menu system. And now with the latest Sony cameras, for example the Sony a7 IV, they have completely redesigned the menu system, and I can already see after just using the camera for a couple of hours now that it really is a lot better. They have color coded the different sections, they have made them more logical, they have made the navigation so much easier. So I already find myself starting to remember where things are in the menu, which is great. That is what I've been after. Getting eaten alive here by small mosquito-like insects that I don't know, they are called knot in Swedish at least, and they are very irritating. Cute little leaf hopper, or is it a leaf hopper? I don't remember exactly. But they are cute. And my legs are getting eaten up. This will have to be a short photo walk. I'm getting eaten alive here, but all this small... Oh. Feeling like that reporter who is out in the field and getting insects and shit in his mouth. That's me right now.
It's death. The fuck is that? Shit! I'm dying this fucking...
Another thing that has frustrated me a bit with the Sony a7 III is the low resolution viewfinder. It's only like 2.3 megapixels or something, and that is a little bit too little to be able to properly focus and assess the quality of macro photos in camera. Now they upped that to like, I don't know, what is it, like 3.7 million pixels. And now I feel it is a lot better, noticeably better. So that's a big upgrade for me and something I've been wanting for a long time. Also, they made the resolution a bit bigger. It's like 33 megapixels now, I think, on the sensor, and that's great. Actually, the reason I don't like having like 60 megapixels is that dealing with those files is a lot more work. They take up more space, they will be slower when you edit and so on. So I think 33 megapixels is kind of the sweet spot for me. And also when you're doing macro photography, you are severely limited by diffraction. So even if you have like 60 megapixels, as you would have if you bought like Sony a7R, it would be very hard to really utilize those pixels because in macro photography you have so much diffraction most of the time. So I think around 30 megapixels is perfect for me. Another thing that is not great on the Sony cameras is the grip. It has been really bad, but it's getting better and better. Still not as good as Canon's grip by any means, but now on the Sony a7 IV it is a bit better than on the Sony a7 III, and the Sony a7 III was a bit better than the original Sony a7, so it's getting better and better. And now I think I won't have to use a grip extension anymore, as I had to use on my Sony a7 III, so that's good. But if I would start with photography today, if I would have no lenses whatsoever, and if I would have unlimited money, I would strongly consider the Canon system, I think. I think the ergonomics are still superior to Sony. The grip is so nice, so perfect, and I love that the body is rounded in a nice way, so when you're wearing the camera it doesn't like stick into your sides and almost hurt you like the Sony cameras do. I noticed that the a7 IV is a bit rounder in the edges than the a7 III, but it's still not great. Also, I think Canon still has the superior user experience in terms of menu system and all of that. They really feel like the Apple of the camera world. And speaking of Apple, a bad thing with Canon is the closed lens system. You can pretty much only use Canon lenses if you want autofocus ones or the matted ones. And they are really, really expensive. So if you have a lot of money, it's great, but otherwise it's not that great. That's a good thing with Sony. They have an open system, there are lots of third-party lenses and they are really good. There are lots of really good lenses from Viltrox, Tamron, Samyang and so on that offer great quality, and I have a lot of these lenses. So yeah, since I have all my favorite lenses already for Sony, that is a big hurdle to switching to Canon. And also the Sony cameras are a bit cheaper, so yeah, I'm sticking to Sony for now at least. And the final reason I'm sticking to full frame for macro photography is actually all the photography I do that is not macro photography. I like doing a lot of portrait photography, and I really love the look of shallow depth of field in portraits as well. I want great bokeh, and the best way to get great bokeh is of course to use a full frame camera and to use fast lenses on that camera. So that is also a reason why I'm gonna stick to full frame now that I've tried all the other kinds of sensors and systems. I'm probably gonna stick to Sony for quite a while, possibly switch to Canon in the future, but we'll see. I've always found these trees so very beautiful. They are lined up so nicely in a row here, and yeah, just beautiful. Love taking photos of them, both in the summer and in the winter. And when it comes to the topic of switching cameras and buying new cameras and switching systems and stuff like that, I really think that you should spend some time exploring, trying a couple of different systems and cameras until you find out what is your favorite, what works for you and what feels most natural for you. And then just stick to that. Stick to it for decades, so that you become very used to it, so that the camera becomes like an extension of you, so that you're familiar with all the menus and everything, and so that you spend the majority of your time thinking about how to take better photos and not what kind of camera to buy next. I have found that the very best photographers, the ones that I really admire, they tend to use the same camera for many years, and they only switch when they really need to because their camera breaks or whatever, and then they buy a similar camera. Another thing I'm noticing now with the A7 IV, which kind of annoyed me with the A7 III, is the speed of the whole camera. The A7 III, although it was a lot faster than the A7, it still felt a bit sluggish. When you press buttons in the menu, it takes a small part of a second before it reacts. And sometimes when you're taking photos, it feels like it's not really that instant. With this camera, with the A7 IV, everything feels extremely fast compared to the A7 III. And that is something that really does a difference to the user experience. It's a lot more fun to use a piece of technology that is very fast and reacts instantly to whatever you want to do. I find that to be a big deal. Look at this. What a paradise for a macro photographer. All these wildflowers. I'm gonna have to return here. Incredible. Of course, it's perfectly possible to take beautiful macro photos with pretty much any camera in any system, and I think it mostly comes down to your preference, what fits your needs and What do you like? What gives you the best user experience and results that you are happy with? And I think this differs a lot between different photographers, so don't listen too much to other people, just listen to your own gut feeling. See you soon again in another video. Bye bye. This is my latest bonus video exclusively for Patreon supporters. It's a 20-minute tutorial where I teach you my best tips for capturing wildflowers. And every month I add a new bonus video to my Patreon library. It's currently 13 videos. If you become a patron of mine for $5 per month, you get access to this growing library of bonus videos. And more importantly, you can sleep better at night, knowing that you ensure the continued existence of this YouTube channel. I do this full-time, but I do not yet earn a full-time living, so your contribution is greatly appreciated and very much needed. Go to patreon.com/Micael Widell to sign up. You can cancel anytime. Thank you.